achieved.
Now, traditionally, I kick off the show with a bit of a rant about previous happenings in the world of mixed martial arts. Instead, I'm going to look at UFC 244 and do a quick recap, fight by fight. I'll try and get through as quickly as possible. So we open with Akeem Dawodu against Julio Arce split decision. I had Dawodu to win it. I thought he just narrowly edged out, but I thought it was a very close fight. It kind of played out like I expected to, which is a fantastic back-and-forth battle. Good matchup to kick it off. Live and good chance, Renkutra again. Renkutra, I had good in that matchup. I didn't know if he'd finish him because I know Renkutra's tough. But again, Renkutra not getting the takedowns, good, blasting him on the feet. Again, played out very close to what I anticipated it would. Same with Chookagian Maia. Chookagian just more active, more mobile. Maia chasing down, not landing enough, and losing a decision. Now we get to the televised prelims where things started to go south. Andrei Arlovski getting knocked out in 29 seconds by Jairzinho Rosenstrike. Again, what is Arlovski thinking? He's facing a guy who's got limited experience in longer fights, has had issues if he's taken down, and he stands with him until he gets knocked out. If I'm Arlovski, come out right away and look for a takedown, and you're going to scare the guy and make him think, oh, fuck. He might try and take me down. I can't commit to anything, and that might have changed the complexion of the fight. Instead, he gets knocked out and just, terrible, terrible game plan. Edmund Shabazian knocking out Brad Tavares. Excellent performance. I had Tavares. I was wrong. Shabazian proving he is the real deal. He looks very good, and it's getting harder and harder to say he shouldn't be getting a Tavares is a ranked opponent. Shabazian's probably looking at a top 10 ranked opponent. And I think Tavares was ranked 11th, so Shabazian should be getting a top 10 ranked opponent next. The guy's certainly got talent. Up next, I got back on the winning track with Shane Burgos, stopping Mirkani. Again, Mirkani went for it. All hats off to him early. He went for it early in that fight. Burgos getting the stoppage late. Just defended, and eventually waited for him to tire. And again, beautiful approach for Burgos and ultimately leading to the proper result. Corey Anderson, what a win. Again, I had Walker. I was wrong on that one. Corey Anderson knocking him out. Walker was just a little bit too hesitant, didn't get going, and allowed Corey Anderson to find his groove and get him out of there. Now, as far as Corey Anderson wanting a shot at the title, the UFC's kind of indicated, and Dana White's kind of indicated he's not quite there yet, which Corey's kind of pissed off about. But I get it. He's just not a needle mover yet. But you know what? He needs to headline an event. I'd say him against the winner of Rakic and Ozdemir next to determine number one contender, with Reyes getting a shot at the title in the not-too-distant future. For Johnny Walker, he's young, he's talented. He'll regenerate, recuperate, whatever you want to say it, and get back in it. So 4-3 in the prelims, not awesome. Up next, Kevin Lee. Whoa. Aya Gillespie, and Lee knocks him out, and his new decision to work with Faraz Zahabi could pay massive dividends, just looking amazing. Again, he has a very similar skill set to George St. Pierre, and that head kick puts him right back in the thick of things. And if I'm Kevin Lee, I'm looking for like a fight night main event type spot, or a co-main event on a pay-per-view. Big shot, big opportunity to get him back in the mix. Good for him, massive win. Up next, I did have Derek Lewis to beat Blagoy, split decision, an ugly one. The only thing I expected was maybe Lewis might get the late finish if Blagoy just exhausts himself, went for a sloppy shot, and Lewis got on top. But I think Derek just pressured forward, and Blagoy, he had a very close fight with Rothwell. He had a close fight with Tai Tuivasa at times. Again, Lewis just didn't have to steal it. Basante Luque, Stephen Thompson, I had Luque in that matchup. He did not come away with the victory. He started out well. He was having a lot of success early, and I'm surprised he didn't get more nods on the scorecards for at least one round. Stephen Thompson, very impressive. Just used his ranged weapons, kept Luque out of where he could land danger. Vicente Luque is a warrior. He took a lot of damage, kept coming forward, and a little bit concerned that he didn't look for his ground game. He's not a great wrestler, but he's shown enough he could at least threaten and make Thompson start wondering. My concern now with Vicente Luque is that he's taken massive damage. He took it in the Corey Perry fight. He took it in the Brian Barberina fight. He took it here. Is he going to be one of these guys who craps out because the damage is taken before he gets to that point where he can compete? Stylistically, the way you look at it now, Stephen Thompson's a bad matchup for him. I thought Luque had a great opportunity to really get in pressure and hurt Thompson, and instead Stephen just used his ranged weapons very effectively. Co-main event, Darren Till, Kelvin Gastelum. I had Darren Till all the way. And the reason it is not because I thought he was going to be a better fighter. I thought Kelvin Gastelum was not going to put together a good performance. Post-title fight letdown scenario, folks. It happens, not every time, but like a high percentage of times. Kelvin Gastelum came out flat. Darren Till didn't look that good. He didn't fight that well, but ultimately he got the victory, and that's what it comes down to. Gastelum underperformed. Till did just enough. In the main event, Jorge Masvidal taking down Nate Diaz again. The doctor stoppage, I don't want to call it warranted. I understand it. I understand why people are frustrated, and it's definitely frustrating to see it play out like that. But again, I had Masvidal there. Just faster, more diverse, hits harder. There's too much going on. Nate Diaz does not beat legit welterweights. Guys that are not like blown up 155ers, he's not going to beat them. His style does not weigh well with them, and that's what it comes down to. Overall, I went 7-5 in the card. It was a difficult card to predict. A lot of good fights. Nonetheless, I need to get back into things and have some success. And on that note, welcome back to Kamikaze Overdrive MMA Predictions. Always, I am your host, Scott Johnson. And on the episode On this episode of the show, we are breaking in the upcoming UFC Fight Night 163 event going down in Moscow, Russia on November 9th. I'll be giving you all 6 of my main card predictions on this episode of the show. All of my preliminary picks will be available at kamikazeoverdrive.net. Check them out there. You can follow me on Twitter at KO_predictions. Follow us on Facebook. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Click the like as well. Don't forget, comment. If I get an opportunity, I will respond to you. And finally, the bet packs will be for sale. We're looking to get back on the winning track. Got to put some focus in here. Got to get back. In my last one, I had 5 bets that had 1 wrong in my casual betting cluster, where it's a type where I'm going to risk some money to try and win a ton. That's for those casual guys who only have maybe $50, $100 to spend, $200 on a night, and just kind of throw some big bets down to look and hit a home run. We've hit some big home runs recently, but we need to get back on track there. Nonetheless, we got lots of fights to break down. I've been ranting for a little bit. Let's get to that first main card prediction. Fight number 1 of the main card goes down in the UFC's light heavyweight division as the undefeated debuting Shamil Gamzatov, 13-0, takes on 15-3 Brazilian Klidson Abreu. Now, coming into this matchup, Abreu is coming off his first UFC victory. He's 1-1 in the promotion so far. He had a loss to Ankalaev in his debut, another Russian, and the decision win over Sam Alvey last time out. For Gamzatov, he's undefeated. He fought in WSOF and PFL after transition and changed names. 3-0 under that promotion. He has wins over names like Eddie Gordon and Rodney Wallace, fighters who had cups of tea in the UFC. Gamzatov is 2 inches taller than Abreu. Abreu is the younger man by 2 years, and the Russian has been out of action for 15 months, so he's could be a little bit rusty coming into this. Now, Abreu is a BJJ world champion. We all know what he's all about. He has converted that fairly well to mixed martial arts. He's a very strong grappler, 10 wins by submission. 6 of those coming by rear naked choke. He has an excellent back take, incredibly smooth when he gets the opportunity to do it, and you're in trouble if he gets there. Also, he's a very opportunistic level change, very impressed with his level change. He's good at anticipating his opponent's forward pressure and countering the level change, putting him on the back, and then getting down. When he fought Alvey, he executed exceptionally well. Level change, catching him coming forward, and then soon as he gave Alvey a tiny bit of space to get up, Alvey tried to get up, and he, boom, rotated right to his back and got to a great position, won the round as a result. Now, because he is so good on the mat and so willing to go to the ground in almost any scenario, he is absolutely willing to come forward with some heavy strikes. He has some very... he's got some pop behind his punches, he throws some good leg kicks as well, and he will move forward unabated and engage you. Now, he was backing up Alvey, stepping with power, and tying him up once Alvey tried to return fire. It was a very good mix. Now, in his debut, he did get blasted. His nose broke, and he got messed up for 3 rounds. Lost the decision, but he showed how tough he is. Now, for Gamzatov, he has split his 10 finishes evenly between submissions and knockouts. He's a jiu-jitsu brown belt. He's also a national master of Sambo, and he has 3 straight decision victories coming into this since taking a step up in competition. So he's already seen some better competition of late. Now, when he fought Rodney Wallace on the regional scene, he was taken down a couple of times. And now he edged out a split decision in that fight, but that tells us he can be taken down. But in his more recent match against Rex Harris, who's known for being a wrestler, he showed some very solid takedown defense, was able to defend the takedowns and stay where he wanted to stay, which is on the feet. Got his back to the cage and, again, stayed vertical. He throws a solid left jab. He's able to pop it out as he's moving backwards, which can be very effective against an aggressive fighter. He's also very good at slipping counter strikes into his punches when his opponent does engage, swing, and miss. Now, he's not a guy who's going to come out and overwhelm you with his volume, but he's solid. He stays within himself. His strikes are fairly linear, which I like against a wilder opponent. Now, if this fight was in Brazil, absolutely favors Abreu with his, I think that's a good spot, but I like Gamzatov here in Russia. Now, Abreu needs takedowns, which he counts on timing. Again, Gamzatov doesn't open up like your traditional brawler does. At least he hasn't in what I've seen. He stays relatively calm, fights within himself, which is good. Abreu's a little bit wilder. If he can't get the finish, I think he's going to take some damage. He's going to slow down. His grappling will become less effective, and we'll look for that much-expected butt flop to start coming out of him. I think we're going to see Gamzatov show improved takedown defense even more and just that steady striking output. Abreu will start to slow down. He'll be impacted by the travel, the hostile environment, and my prediction is Shamil Gamzatov to defeat Klidson Abreu. I'll take Gamzatov by decision. The next fight on the main card transpires in the UFC's welterweight division as 18-3-0 Ramazan Emeev, fighting out of Russia, takes on the 16-4 Rocco Martin, of course, an American. Now, Martin is coming off the first loss he's had since moving to 170 pounds. It was a very close majority decision against Damian Maia. He had won 4 in a row, and he's a winner of 7 of his last 9, so he's put together a pretty impressive run. So for Emeev, he has won 7 consecutive bouts. He's 3-0 inside the octagon, wins over Sam Alvey at middleweight, and then Alberto Mina and Sekulak in his last fight. He's 2-0 at welterweight. Now, physically, Martin 2 inches taller, but Emeev will have the reach advantage of about 3 inches, and he's actually 2 years older than Rocco Martin when you compare the two stats that way. Now, Martin's a big man, and the move to welterweight has absolutely benefited him. It's been a great decision. It's improved his cardio, and overall his performances are just more complete, more well-rounded, and just he's fighting better. To that note, he's also improved his striking. The knockout, I think it was a head kick knockout of Ryan Flair, was impressive. Now, LaFleur retired. He was kind of the end of his rope at that point. But his hands and overall his offense has just looked much better. He's got solid striking, sharp and long, very stiff. And it forces his opponent to consider him trying to take him to the floor, where a place he's very comfortable with and very good at. Now, offensively, he doesn't have huge takedown numbers. And actually, he hasn't landed a single takedown yet at welterweight. He uses his top game more at lightweight, but he's shown he's excellent on the ground. He's very strong, good top control, good submission skills, submitted Matthews. And if you try and take him down, he's very good at countering the position into a spot that's either better for him or a spot that he can get up and out of. You know, when he fought Damian Maia, who's all world on the ground, and puts guys away, just put Ben Askren away, he showed very good defensive work. He was able to limit Maia's success on the mat. And while he's given up 12 takedowns over his last 6 fights, he's shown he can rally from that and overcome those types of situations. And I think the Maia fight was very much a learning situation for him. It's going to give him confidence. Now, for Emeev, he is a low-output grinder-type fighter. All 3 of his wins have had very similar stat lines. He had 38 strikes and 1 takedown, 39 strikes and 3 takedowns, 36 strikes and 2 takedowns. It's right in the same strikes-takedown ratio. He's not going to overwhelm you with takedown volume or striking volume. He's just going to kind of keep grinding forward and keep pressing forward and just outwork you. But not do it in a manner that's going to blow you out of the water. You're just not going to do enough. Now, his record reflects this approach. He has just 3 wins by knockout. He does have 7 submission wins coming a lot in his earlier career. But he has 8 wins on the scorecards. He's 8-1 in decisions, which is a guy who's just going to try and pick away at you, limit what you're doing, and just do a little bit more. Now, he throws with decent power. He doesn't throw anything crazy from range, keeps himself fairly limited. His strikes tend to pull him forward into the clinch, which is something that actually Martin will not be too upset with. Now, he spent a lot of his time back and forth on the cage in his last fight, holding and giving up position. He gave up a takedown in each of his last 2 matches as well, which shows he can be taken down if Martin wants to go that direction. Now, with this fight going down in Russia, there's always a concern that Emeev will win a close decision. Martin's coming off again a very strong performance against a very good ground fighter. I think he'll rebound from that experience here. He'll come with a lot of confidence knowing he's fought one of the best fighters in the division and pushed him right to the limit. Look for Martin to shut down Emeev's takedowns, which will take away one of his big offensive keys. Even if he gets taken down, he'll make it a better spot by getting up or even countering. And then I expect Rocco Martin to land between 55 and 65 significant strikes, with, again, Emeev putting up that low to high 30 range, which will give Martin almost a 2-1 edge in overall strikes. Take the takedowns out of it, favors Martin significantly. My prediction is Rocco Martin to defeat Ramazan Emeev by decision. Up next, we're in the UFC's light heavyweight division as Kattar Ibragimov, 8-1-0, takes on short fuse Ed Herman, 25 wins, 14 losses, and 1 no contest. Now, Hermov, I combined the 2 names right away. Herman halted a 3-fight losing streak with his last matchup, a TKO win over Patrick Cummins. He had a split decision loss against Gian Vellante, a loss to CB Dalloway and Nikita Krylov, 4-6 over his last 10. Now, this fight was supposed to feature Antigulov. He is out. Ibragimov is coming in about 2 weeks to prepare for this matchup. Now, the Russian lost his debut to Da Anjung. It was the first loss of his career. He was submitted in a fight that he was probably winning right up until that moment. He comes into this matchup. He's got 2 wins by knockout, 3 submission victories, 2 decision victories, 3 first-round finishes. His last 3 pre-UFC opponents, 28-11, so he's not some scrub. There were some things in his first fight I didn't necessarily like. He opened up with a wild barrage of hooks against Young and absolutely went for it. And it almost looked like he was just nervous and thought, I'm just going to try and get this over with very quickly. He had him backed up against the cage. He was landing. He was doing damage. And he might have been able to do that if he could, had been more accurate with his offense, but ultimately it didn't work out. He throws some wild hooks at times, even when he's at range. It's a bit messy. His cardio clearly took a hit in that matchup, and he was exhausted in round 2. He was still standing and throwing bombs, but he's far less effective. He does come from that Sambo background. He can do damage from the clinch when he gets in that position. Didn't get his opponent to the mat until his opponent went for a Kimura, and then he was able to defend and get on top. So it's not like we saw a lot of offensive grappling from him. Now, and as I said, he got tired. He was far less effective, but arguably still winning the fight. He did damage to his opponent, but got caught in that submission, was too tired to fend it off, and got tapped out. Now, you look at Herman. Herman's got 22 UFC fights, 39 pro bouts already. He's a veteran, but he's got a lot of mileage on him. He's 4-5 overall in decisions, 3 losses by knockout, 6 losses by submission. So you see the ways he can win fights is starting to diminish at this level. Now, he's more durable than we give him credit for, but at the same time, he can be hurt and he can be finished, and that needs to be something we're very aware of. He also has more punching power than we would anticipate, but again, he's pretty slow. He's open to taking a lot of damage, and he rarely puts together big volume fights if he can't, shock us with a stoppage like he did against Patrick Cummins. Now, Herman's grappling attack could be his key here. If he can work to a good spot, he could set up a submission, especially if he gets his opponent tired and survives those early onslaughts, which is going to be difficult. And again, the other avenue for him to pick up a victory here, it's just like I said, survive those early barrages, take some damage, let his opponent tire himself out, and then Herman gets a finish or even doesn't have to steal round 2 and takes over all of round 3 and takes a decision. I expect Ibragimov is going to learn from his debut. He'll be more comfortable. He's fighting at home, even on the short notice. He won't be quite as aggressive, but he'll still come out and be effective. I think Herman's going to struggle with the speed and forward pressure of the younger, more active man. And once the fists start to fly, I think he's not going to be able to keep up and avoid that offense. It's just a tough spot for Ed Herman fighting in Russia. And my prediction is Khadis Ibragimov to defeat Ed Herman by knockout. In another action-packed matchup, 8-1 Russian Zelim Imadaev takes on the United Kingdom's hot chocolate Danny Roberts, the current record of 16 wins and 4 losses. Now, Roberts is coming off back-to-back finish defeats. He has been stopped in all 4 of his UFC losses and in all 5 of his overall fights. He's 5-4 inside the octagon. Now, for Imadaev, he lost his debut to Max Griffin. It was by decision. It was his first fight in over a year and his first fight in the United States as well. And when you look at his activity rate, 1-0 in 2018, so he's very inactive of late. Conversely, he went 3-0 in 2017. Physically, Hot Chocolate's 1 inch taller with a 2-inch reach. It's 2-inch reach advantage for Imadaev, and the Russian is the younger fighter by 8 years. Now, looking at Imadaev first, he came to the UFC with a finish-heavy record, all 8 wins by knockout, 5 in round 1. That got a little bit exposed in a close fight that went deeper into the matchup, and he lost it. It was a hard fight to debut in. He was on the road, big step up in competition. It cost him. It was a close fight, but it was a tough fight. Now, he's very aggressive. He pushes forward constantly, always engaging, always throwing offense, borderline sloppy. I don't want to call him sloppy, but it's like that type of fight where it's like tighten some stuff up here and you'll be that much better and more effective. He has a good mix of punches and kicks in his offense. He's not very one-dimensional when it comes to that. And again, he likes to let things fly. Now, he's gone outside the first round 4 times, 3 victories, including a round 3 stoppage in 2017. Now, when he fought Griffin, he landed 64 significant strikes, which is pretty solid. But on the other side of things, while he landed more offense, he gave up 6 takedowns, which wore him down, and it cost him a decision. Now, Griffin did a nice job of countering forward pressure. Every time Imadaev came forward, Griffin changed levels, was able to tie up with him and take him down, or at least clinch up and kind of diffuse some of that offense and just wear on him a little bit. Now, for Roberts, he has a tendency to get drawn into these sloppy, crazy back-and-forth battles. He got submitted by Silva in a similar war. He had that narrow split decision against David Zawada, and he got knocked out by Mike Perry in the final round of that matchup. Again, he gets drawn into them. Sometimes he wins, sometimes he loses. He's an all-around talented fighter, 7 knockouts, 5 submission wins, 4-0 on the scorecards. But his durability is a question mark. He's been knocked out now 3 times. He's got 2 losses by submission. All 5, as previously said, all 5 of his career losses by defeat. Now, one area that Roberts has issues with is his takedown defense. He gives up takedowns. Again, he gets drawn into takedown battles and grappling exchanges. It doesn't go well for him. I'm not sure if that's going to be an issue here. In fact, he could try and find success with that avenue, but he's never landed a single UFC takedown. He's given up 2 or more on 4 occasions. The unknown here is what we could see on the ground. I'm not sure if we'll see anything either way. Now, Roberts is coming off a fight where he got knocked out cold, and prior to that, he was through some absolutely grueling wars. This will be his 3rd fight in 8 months. Third demanding fight. I think it's maybe too much. A lot of people are saying this, he should be taking fights like this. He needs a bit of a break. He is a good boxer, but I think this is the case of Yabral the boxer. Imadaev's aggressive, wild style is going to cause him a lot of problems, similar to how we've seen with the Pahesh fight, or whatever the hell his name is, Pahea, the fucking flipping clown monkey. Just guy jumping all over the place. Either way, how we're going to see that play out, I think that gave some issues to Roberts. I think we'll see the same thing here. Just the aggression, the unorthodox style is going to cause Roberts some problems. Imadaev's aggressive striking, and again, finishing ability returns here after a faltering and less durable Roberts starts to just succumb to the pressure. And my prediction is Zelim Imadaev to defeat Danny Roberts by knockout. We move now to the co-main event of the evening in a matchup that was formerly the main event and got downgraded when Junior Dos Santos was forced to pull out, but nonetheless, we have the number 7th ranked former Bellator champion Alexander Drago Volkov, 37-0, taking on the Prince of War, 5-1 with one no contest, Greg Hardy. Now, this fight came together after Junior Santos was hospitalized. Hopefully, he's on his way to recovery. It was the main event. Now it's just a 3-round fight, which probably is better for Hardy. Well, it is better for Hardy. He's definitely not ready for 5 rounds yet. Hardy fought just over 2 weeks ago. He had the decision against Benzasoli overturned because he used the puffer. He took limited damage in that matchup. Didn't look overly awesome, but he wanted to get back in there, which I commend. So far, he's 2-1 in the UFC with 1 no contest. And that one loss coming by DQ. He could arguably be 4-0 if things had been played out a little bit differently. Now, Volkov has looked good. He had won 6 in a row, 4 in the UFC. He was progressively getting better with each matchup. TKO victory over Stefan Struve and Fabricio Verdum, a former champion. He beat Derek Lewis pretty much until the final 11 seconds of that matchup when he got knocked out. And that cost him a title shot because Lewis went on to fight, so that's tough. Now, Volkov is 2 inches taller, same reach at 80 inches. Hardy will be the heavier man by 15 pounds and the same age. Now, for Volkov, that is his 2nd career knockout, which is impressive considering he's a heavyweight and has fought 37 times. The first time he had it was a 2013 loss in Bellator to Vitaly Minakov. I believe that was a TKO loss on the mat. Correct me if I'm wrong. But nonetheless, that's pretty decent if you look at that, his resume. Now, I think that'll be the tail of the tape here. Can Hardy knock Volkov out? Hardy's 2 UFC knockouts came on the mat, surprisingly enough. Ground and pound versions, landed 54 significant strikes against Sassoli, but nothing devastating. He never had Sassoli in trouble. Now, I know Ben's tough, but Hardy had all the physical advantages in that matchup and just could not trouble him too often. Now, Hardy was fighting more conservative. He's willing to let the fight play out and kind of come to him instead of forcing it and looking for the finish. Ultimately, that stems from a concern about his cardio, hence the puffer situation. But if he can rush his opponent and finish them, can't finish them, he certainly can get himself into some serious trouble in that area. Now, his jab shows some improvement. He's working in kicks, better body motion, not brawling as much. That's all awesome. Is it enough to get by a guy like Volkov? Volkov's striking has looked very good, and his volume is good. 121 significant strikes against Lewis, 135 against Struve, and 122 against Nelson. Those are all guys he's teed off on and looked very decent against in pretty much all the exchanges. He's got a sharp jab. His kicking offenses look good. He'll throw in combination. He was able to hurt and eventually break down Verdum until he got him out of there. You know, when you look at this fight, Hardy might be best served to go back to his brawling ways, rush Volkov, and just try and overwhelm him with big shots, and don't let it be a technical showdown. Volkov's height could actually aid Hardy in this matchup, as he is easier. He's going to have a better chance of finding the mark here. He's going to be easier to hit because he is taller if Hardy can get in range. Again, Hardy's reached the same thing, and he's not that much shorter. So Volkov's head being exposed up there, Hardy could walk in and just absolutely crack him. Now, Hardy has struggled when he's put on the mat, and Volkov has shown he can go in that direction. He might, in fact, look for that direction and catch us off guard. And that would be a smart move. Take Hardy down. Even if you don't do much damage to him, if Hardy spends the entirety of round 1 on the mat, it's going to wear him out, it's going to tire him down, it's going to make him think about that, make him more defensive, and it's going to open up some striking opportunities. You know, Volkov represents a massive step up in competition for Hardy, and he's doing it on very, very short notice. This is not a type of fight the UFC would normally put together. It would kind of fixer-upper when they had no other choice, and that's what we're looking at here, and that's worth keeping in mind. Also, we've got Hardy going to that hostile environment, which is going to be very interesting. The travel, limited preparation, extremely tough conditions, could all further limit his cardio. I think in this matchup, Hardy struggles to find the mark. Volkov's just going to pot shot him from distance and pick away at him. Again, I think Hardy's going to struggle with this new approach of just kind of letting the fight come to him and trying to look for that knockout blow without actually looking for it, if you understand what I'm saying. I think Alex could take him down and grind him out there and control him for a round or two and really take his edge off. Nonetheless, well, I think a stoppage is possible. I think Volkov just picks away him like we've seen against other opponents, and my prediction is Alexander Volkov to defeat Greg Hardy by decision. Finally, we move to the main event of the evening in the UFC's featherweight divisions. The 5th-ranked Zabit Magomedsharipov, 17-1-0, takes on the 11th-ranked Calvin Kattar with a current record of 20 wins and 3 losses. Now, this fight was originally set for a previous Fight Night event, actually ESPN event, which was in Boston, where Kattar was from. It was a co-main event, I believe, and it got scrapped, moved to Russia, which now favors Zabit. It was also a headliner now, but it will be it's the headliner now, but it will still be a 3-round event, so the fighters don't have to really change what they're prepping for, so that's worth noting as well. Now, Zabit, undefeated in the UFC, 5 wins, no losses. He has won 13 consecutive since his first and only career loss, and he's certainly on the cusp of a title shot. Needs a win here to continue that pressure. For Kattar, he has won back-to-back fights versus Fishgold and Ricardo Lamas, both by TKO, 4-1 in the UFC. His only loss to Renato Moicano, and he has a TKO victory over Shane Burgos, which is very impressive. He also is 12-1 over his last 13 fights. The guy has been on a roll. Also beat Andre Fili in his debut short notice, which was very eye-opening. Now, physically, Zabit 2 inches taller, 1 inch reach advantage, and he's the younger man by 3 years. Now, it is worth noting that while Zabit is very long for the division, Kattar is the tallest man he has faced. Most of Zabit's opponents have ranged between 5'7" and 5'10". Most guys 5'7" to 5'9", the odd guy 5'10". So Kattar only being 5'11". That's going to be, present some issues for Zabit, potentially. Now, Kattar comes in this matchup. He wants to keep the fight standing, and he wants to keep it in boxing range. He has some power, 9 knockouts, 3 in the UFC. His volume is decent, but not overwhelming. He landed 85 significant strikes against Shane Burgos, 75 versus Andre Fili. When you look at Ricardo Lamas' fight, 22 in the first round, 24 against Fishgold, so solid numbers for a one-round fight. But the one fight he lost against Renato Moicano, only 41 significant strikes, got badly outworked. He really struggled to find his range, couldn't get inside the kicks, couldn't get in with consistency and land that offense he needed to. I think part of it was the fear of the takedown. Now, Kattar can counter-strike, absolutely. He likes to sit in the pocket, slip and rip, and take advantage of guys who overcommit. But if he can't find his range, like that was the case against Moicano, he's not nearly as effective, and it gets shown pretty quickly. Now, Zabit is a very solid striker. He uses a variety of kicking techniques. He can do a lot of damage, but he does his best work when he can keep his opponents at range and just pick away at them, hurt them, but not overcommit, not look for any big shots. Now, the long kicks are going to make it very tough for Kattar to close the gap and do damage. But if Calvin can close the gap and get into boxing range, that's going to short-circuit some of Zabit's kicks. So it's going to be a game of distance on the feet. So that's worth noting. When you look at Jeremy Stephens, he had success pressuring Zabit by backing him up and coming forward with power, but it forced Zabit to move to plan B. And it's a very effective plan B, and I expect to see something similar here. Zabit was able to change gears because he's a multifaceted fighter. And he looked for his takedown game. He can wrestle, and he has a solid submission game. It's not just, or am I going to get taken down and spend the fight on my back? It's, am I going to get taken down and submitted? He has 7 wins by submission, 3 in the UFC. He's coming off a performance where, again, he went to his wrestling as a key aspect of his offense. 3 takedowns versus Stephens. He has 26 UFC takedowns over 5 fights. That's damn impressive. He would have more, but he only needed 1 in his debut for a submission victory. Solid top control. His long limbs allowed him to set up submissions. That Suliev stretch versus Davis was damn impressive and came out of nowhere. Shows how creative he is. Now, Kattar hasn't faced an opponent with that's going to throw a lot of takedown offense at him. Fishgold landed 1 or 2 takedowns, and that seemed to concern him a little bit. He struggled in that matchup, and I want to know if it's maybe the threat of the takedown that Fishgold presented. He struggled with Moicano as well, another fighter who's a capable grappler, even though he didn't threaten with takedowns. Does that prevent him from stepping into the pocket? Zabit will keep him on the outside with his kicks. I think that's key. And then once Kattar moves forward, he's going to change levels, and he's going to look for takedowns. And that's a huge variation that Kattar's not going to be able to deal with. It's going to negate his forward pressure. Also, Zabit can go to the clinch as well and tie him up in that position, use his height for leverage. Kattar, he really lost out fighting at home. I think that's definitely an unfortunate change of events for him. It's an even tougher fight for him now in Russia. And my prediction is Zabit Magomedsharipov to defeat Calvin Kattar by submission. So those are my 6 main card predictions for UFC Fight Night 163. All of my preliminary picks will be available at kamikazeoverdrive.net. Please check them out. This should be a fairly fantastic card. Again, it's an afternoon card again. I think it's 2 p.m. Eastern time for the main card, so make sure you set your clocks accordingly. The bet packs will be for sale. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Facebook. Subscribe on YouTube as well. I want to get that up to 3,000 before the end of the year. That'd be fantastic. I don't know if we'll get there or not. We'll see. Nonetheless, thank you very much for tuning in, guys. I greatly appreciate it, and I will talk to you very, very soon. Bye for now.